Welcome back to ONYX Financial Track. This is Ultimate Academy's team. We're on the vendors module, and in this lecture we're going to be talking about the accounts payable system, the transactions, and the reports as well. Let's bring up the first screen, contract details. As you can see here, the screen is divided into two parts, main data and details. In main data, we type down the main contract information. First of all, the branch that is creating this contract with the vendor. We have a drop-down menu where we can select the right branch. As for contract number and date, both of those are automatic. Contract start date, that's obviously the day on which the branch has established this contract with the vendor. And contract end date is the day that this contract will end. As for vendor code, as usual, we will hit F9 and select the vendor that we're having this contract with. Don't worry though about the vendor name because that comes up automatically after you have selected the vendor. Then we select the currency, and that is the currency that will be on the contract, and makes sense that it's the currency that you're going to be using to deal with this vendor. Exchange rate is automatic based on the selected currency. Method of tax calculation. Here we select the method from the ones that we have already entered in the tax calculation screen. Renewed from contract. So if this is a renewal, then you have to enter the reference number for the previous contract. Amendment expiry date. If we are basically prolonging the duration of this contract beyond the actual end date, then you can type down the date you want in this field here. Renewed from contract and also amendment expiry date, these two fields can also be used in the contract renewal screen. Moving on to the lower section, we have 5 tabs. Master details is where we can specify the amount included in the contract, or if we have a discount, we can also specify it here. The system will automatically do the math and calculate the total after, of course, deducting the discount. We can also link this contract to a cost center. You will hit F9 and you will select the cost center that you want to link this to. The user can also select a specific activity, and if we have any related documents that we can enter the reference number for, we can enter it in the reference number field. Description and remarks, of course you can add any notes or relevant information if you want. Contract end date alert before. This is where we can set up an alert from the system to notify you that the contract is coming up, it's coming up to an end, and you can specify in days. So let's say that you need a notification 2 months ahead. Then in this field we will punch in 60. That way it means that the system will notify you 60 days in advance before the contract comes up to an end. Show alert when arrive amount less than. If, for example, this contract total value or total amount is $1,000 and we want to receive a notification when the executed value is below a certain amount, then we can specify it here. For example, if the contract is $1,000 and we want to be notified when it's down to $100, let's say that the total value of all the transactions with this vendor has reached $900 in total, then we will receive a notification because there is only $100, as we specified, remaining from the total value of the contract. Alright, if we set this contract to be inactive, then the system will document the name of the user who deactivated it and the date on which it was deactivated. Alright, so the second tab is item. Here we can specify the items that this vendor supplies, and in item code we just hit F9 and select the item that we want. We have a table to record more than one item. And when we select one, the name and the measurement unit, they both come up automatically. You will have to specify though the quantity and the free quantity as well. And by the way, Free quantity is in case you have set up in this item's details that it accepts free quantities. We also type in the price, and taxes are automatic on the tax calculation method that you have linked to this item and to this vendor as well. The system will show you the total after it does the calculation, and of course the price is per unit. Description is where you can add any notes, and in total, in the lower right, the system gives you the total for all of the items combined. Total discount is where we can see the discount that is on the contract itself or for all the items. And tax is all of the taxes accumulated. Net amount is after we have deducted the total value of the discount. Inactive is in case we want to suspend a certain item in the contract. So let's say that we have agreed to 5 items in the contract, but we found another supplier who will provide one of these items at a lower price. So in that case, we can take off that item from this contract with this vendor and go with the other vendor. Alright, next tab is period expansion. We use this tab after we have saved the contract on the system and it's already being executed. In this tab, we can prolong or expand the duration of that contract beyond the actual end date. We enter the renewal date, and that is basically the date on which we decided to prolong the duration of the contract. From date to date, that's the actual expansion. Reference number and description. As for inserted by, the system automatically adds the user's code who created this expansion, and the serial number is also automatic. Amount is in case we want to top up the contract's value. And the last tab that we have here is batches data. In number of batches, we specify the number of batches that we will execute in this contract. Let's say 5 batches, for example. Distribution method is either by month or period in days. If we select it monthly, then, for example, the duration of this contract is 5 months, like we said, and we have 5 batches in total, then the system will automatically add a batch by the end of each month. In amount, the system will also equally distribute the total value of this contract over the 5 months and the 5 batches. In case we selected period in days, then we can enter the number of the days, which is the gap between each batch and the other. So for example, if we say 40 days, then we're receiving a batch every 40 days from the initial start of the contract. And if we want to restart all the data entry in this tab, then we can click on clear and re-enter all the information. Okay, so next screen. Alright, the screen that we have now is contract renew. And it's the exact same everything that we just went through in the previous screen, except that in this screen we are renewing a contract. So we need to enter the reference number for the contract that we are renewing. We'll move on to the screen after that, which is payment voucher. We actually explained this one in the general ledger, so we also have it here in the vendors module to facilitate the payments to the vendors. Now we'll talk about the screen additional discounts for purchase. Alright, so from this screen we can add another discount on an invoice that already had a discount applied. We will click on add, select the branch from the drop-down menu. Voucher number and date are both automatic. Then we enter the vendor code. As usual, you will hit F9 and select the right vendor. You will also need to select the currency. As for type, it says determine bill number. That means that we're adding this additional discount on a specific invoice, which means that we need to enter that invoice number in this field. We can either enter the number manually if we have the invoice number handy, or we can hit F9 and the system will show you all of the invoices that are issued for this specific vendor. After we select the invoice, the system fills in the invoice date and amount. And if there had been any previous additional discount on this invoice, the value of that discount will appear here. Additional discount, rate, or amount. If you enter the rate, the system will automatically calculate the amount and vice versa. In case there have been a return on that invoice, the value of that return or returns will appear in the summary return amount. The system will automatically, of course, deduct the amount of that return from the total and give you the net purchase. As for net amount, that is where we will be able to see the total after the system deducts the discount from the total value. And in account number, we determine the account on which we want to add the value of the discounts to reflect on. As usual, we hit F9 and we select the account. VAT is if while we're setting up this vendor, we selected that value-added taxes is added, then the system will give the user the total VAT. We can link the value of this discount to a cost center as well by selecting one from the drop-down menu. In the lower table, the system will display the details of the invoice with the items and the cost and everything. Alright, so we're actually done with the transactions and we'll now get into the reports. So we'll start with vendor details reports. Alright, so we have variables in the header that we've already explained before, but since this is a new module, we'll go through these variables again. Show header, shown, and not shown. If we select shown and we bring up the report, you will be able to see top of the report itself main data, like the branch for example. But if we select not shown and bring up the report again, then that main data will be taken off. As for print interface, screen, and printer, if we select screen, then the system will show you a preview before printing, but if you select printer, then it will print right away without a preview. Copies number, how many copies do you need to print out? Language, either Arabic or English. As for print form, we have 7 different forms and you can select whichever you prefer. Report title. So this one is in case you want to replace the main title with a title of your own choice. And footer is the exact same. So if you want to change the footer and you want to add something of your own choice, you can just type it down here and it will show up on the report itself. Alright, so as for from vendor to vendor, that is in case you want to select specific vendors to show up on the reports. Vendor types, in case the user created different types for the vendors, they will find these types here and you will have the choice to select whichever type you want to build the report on. As for vendor group, that is the exact same idea as the type. And inactive, so if we select all, then we want to view all the vendors, the active ones and the inactive ones as well. Active and inactive is in case you would like to view active vendors only or inactive vendors only. Type, summary or detail. That is how the report is going to look like. So do you need a summary or a detailed report? And we'll take a look at both. So we'll check out the summary and then we'll check out the details as well. As for sort by, we have either ascending or descending. So this is how all the report screens work in this module. So we can apply everything that we just said on the rest of the reports in this module. That is it for this lecture. Thank you so much for watching. Please do not forget to subscribe, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and we will see you again.